could resist a haunted whorehouse of horror? Certainly not me, Joe Bob Briggs, your drive-in movie authority, as we plunge into the twisted mind of the legendary Roberta Findlay, director, auteur, New York exploitation icon, who made Blood Sisters in 1987 and launched the careers, well, actually nobody. You know, all of the actresses in Blood Sisters were obscure then, and they're even more obscure today. But that's the genius of Roberta Findlay. You've never heard of anybody in any of her movies. You can't really talk about Roberta Findlay, though, without talking about her husband, Michael. Michael was an Upper East Side Irish Catholic. Roberta was a pretty Jewish girl going to City College, and in 1964 they made grindhouse history when they decided to go into the filthy movie business together, turning out a little gem called Body of a Female, leading to dozens more movies that would best be described as smut slashers. A lot of sex and a lot of violence. They were the leaders in the so-called roughy genre of the 60s, and then they turned to hardcore porn in the 70s. But even when Roberta was making porn, she insisted on having a good story to work around that sex. Well, good story, that might be stretching it, but having a story to work around the sex. Now, sadly, Michael Findlay was killed in 1977 along with 5 others when a helicopter went out of control at the helipad on the roof of the Pan Am building. But prior to that, the most notorious Findlay collaboration was the 1976 film Snuff, which of course many people believe to be an actual snuff film, but was actually an unreleasable Argentinian film called Slaughter that had 5 minutes of extra footage tacked on to make it look like they murdered a crew member. And among other Findlay classics are Shriek of the Mutilated, everybody's Times Square favorite in 1974, and especially the Flesh trilogy, Touch of Her Flesh, Curse of Her Flesh, and Kiss of Her Flesh. And my own personal Findlay favorites, though, because I think they were groundbreaking films, were Olga's House of Shame and White Slaves of Chinatown, which formed the basis of the Women in Prison movie that we all still know and love today. Anyway, Blood Sisters came toward the end of Roberta's active career as a director. She's directed about 40 films. It's impossible to know the exact number because sometimes she co-directed and worked camera on films that Michael gets credit for. But in any event, she only made 2 more films after Blood Sisters because the exploitation market had just dried up, especially for the kind of theatrical releases that she was used to. And it's not her best movie from the 80s. That would have to be either Tenement, also known as Slaughter in the South Bronx, one of the most wicked little sleaze movies ever made, or the immortal Lifestyles of the Blonde and Dirty. But Blood Sisters is an old-fashioned haunted house story with a few teen-sploitation elements thrown in. 8 sorority girls go into the house, several of them get naked, 8 don't come out. About the only person you might recognize in a minor role as one of the prostitutes is Ruth Collins, who was a scream queen in the 80s. And today, Roberta Findlay still holds sway as the studio manager at Sears Sound Studio in New York City, but no doubt she occasionally reflects back to the magic year of 1987 when she made Blood Sisters and wrote the one line that we all remember from the movie, "Eat my shorts, tampon breath, I really saw something." Yeah, I'm tearing up too. It's just beautiful. Okay, I'll be with you for my usual scene-by-scene commentary, but in the meantime, let's look at those drive-in totals. We have 1 haunted whorehouse, 12 dead bodies, 12 breasts, multiple aardvarking, hooker visions, ghosts, multiple gunshot wounds, garter strangulation, apparitions caused by the souls of dead prostitutes, coffin suffocation, hanging, kinky knife sex, 1 blood oath satanic ceremony that ends with the drinking of red liquid from a chalice, followed by L'chaim. Drive-In Academy Award nominations for Mikhail Druhan as the gravity-challenged prostitute, Patricia Finneran as the queen bee sorority bitch, Amy Brentano as the final girl, Elizabeth Rose as the nerd girl with goggle-eyed glasses, and of course Roberta Findlay for writing, directing, and doing things the drive-in way. 3 stars. Joe Bob says check it out. They're deadly, they're co-eds, and they're naked. What's not to love?